If you are watching this, understand that it is not by accident. This is a call that has been whispered through the ages, and it only finds those who are truly ready to hear it. This is not for everyone. For centuries, the word alchemy has been misunderstood, hidden behind veils of secrecy and metaphor. Many believe it's the primitive art of turning lead into gold. But what if the lead was never a metal? What if the gold was never a treasure? What if the entire great work was always about transforming you? Today, we will walk through the first 4 portals of this sacred transformation. But I must warn you, once you truly grasp this knowledge, you cannot ungrasp it. The world as you know it will never look the same again. If you are ready to let your old self die to make way for the new, then your journey begins now. Since ancient times, the great masters knew that alchemy was a dangerous path for the unprepared. The truth doesn't arrive without consequences, and those who dared to touch this sacred knowledge without being ready were often consumed by the very fire that was meant to transmute them. And now, I ask you, do you feel that fire burning inside you? A deep dissatisfaction with the surface level of life? That is the first sign. The call of alchemy isn't random. It finds those who are already prepared to see beyond the illusion. Those who no longer accept living on autopilot, running in the same cycles, trapped by the same limitations. If this knowledge has found you, it is because every moment of pain, every challenge, and every repetition in your life was not an accident. It was part of an unconscious process of refinement, just as raw metal must be burned in fire to become gold. Your soul has endured experiences that have prepared you for this very moment. And now, we have reached the point that defines everything. Are you ready to step through the portal? Because there's no turning back. The first portal, Nigredo, the death of the old self. The first portal is the hardest. Most people turn back before even taking the first step, because crossing it means dying, not a physical death, but something far deeper. It means the complete dissolution of everything you believe yourself to be, your name, your story, your certainties, your hard-won beliefs. Everything must crumble so that something new can be born. This is the beginning of true alchemy, and this phase has a name, Nigredo. The blackening, the chaos. It's the moment when everything impure must be burned away, because you cannot build a new temple on rotten foundations. If you feel like your life is falling apart, like nothing makes sense, like old wounds are resurfacing with a vengeance, pay close attention. You are not being destroyed. You are being refined. But this process demands total surrender. You cannot become someone new while desperately clinging to who you once were. The greatest alchemists in history understood this perilous stage. Zosimus of Panopolis, the first known alchemist in the West, had terrifying visions where he saw his own body being torn apart and reduced to nothing, only to be reborn from a divine fire. Does that scare you? It should, because crossing this portal means there is no going home. You can't carry your old baggage into a new reality. If you want a new life, you must be willing to let the old one burn. The second portal, albedo, internal illumination. The chaos of Nigredo has passed, but something inside you is still smoldering. You feel like you are no longer the same person. There is the strange, profound silence where certainty used to be. The old identity has been burned away, and now all that remains is a sense of emptiness. But this emptiness is not a mistake. It is a sacred necessity. This is the second portal, albedo, the whitening, internal illumination. The fire consumed what needed to go. Now comes the purification, but this doesn't mean everything will immediately feel light and peaceful. First, you must learn to simply be with this new version of yourself. Without distractions, without masks, without escape. The light of this phase doesn't come from the outside. There are no more ready-made answers, no more borrowed truths from books or gurus. Everything you need to know has been inside you all along. You just never knew how to listen. This portal demands of you one thing: silence. Not just the absence of sound, but true internal silence. It happens when you finally stop running from yourself, when you can sit, close your eyes, and face everything that is still inside you, all the fears, all the doubts, all the voices implanted in your mind that you once believed were your own. Have you ever noticed how your mind never stops? It was programmed to keep you distracted, but now distraction no longer works. You have passed through the fire. Now you must face your own consciousness. Close your eyes, breathe, just observe the thoughts. The more you watch them without judgment, the more you realize that these thoughts are not you. They are echoes of your old identity, remnants of what has already burned away. And in that moment of separation, something shifts. You realize that you are not the voice in your head. You are the silent, spacious awareness that observes it all. This is what purification means. It's not about being perfect. It's about no longer identifying with the noise. The third portal, alignment with universal truth. Clarity has arrived, but something still feels incomplete. You no longer see the world in the same way, but the question arises, what is real? This is the third portal, alignment with universal truth. Here, you realize you are awakening not just to a new internal state, but to the very structure of reality itself. What once seemed random now makes sense. You begin to see the invisible laws that govern the universe, the 7 hermetic principles recorded by the legendary sage Hermes Trismegistus. You begin to feel the principle of mentalism, that the entire universe is a mental creation, and your reality is shaped by your perception. You see the principle of correspondence, that your external world is a perfect mirror of your internal world. Look at the chaos in your relationships. Is it not a reflection of the chaos in your mind? You start to understand the principle of vibration, that everything is in motion, and your personal frequency attracts what resonates with it. You grasp the principle of polarity, that fear and courage, hate and love, are just 2 ends of the same spectrum, and you can transmute one into the other. You learn to flow with the principle of rhythm, accepting life's natural cycles of expansion and contraction. You take ownership through the principle of cause and effect, knowing that every action creates your future, and you find balance through the principle of gender, harmonizing the masculine and feminine energies within yourself. Understanding these laws is not enough. You begin to feel them. This is the alignment, the fourth portal, the power of the word. Now that you understand the laws that shape reality, something becomes crystal clear. You are not just a spectator, you are a co-creator. This is the fourth portal, the power of the words and the materialization of reality. The ancients knew that words carry immense creative power. In ancient Egypt, this force was called Heka, the magic of the spoken word. Sound wasn't just communication, it was a tool for manifestation. Today, the science of cymatics proves this, showing how sound vibrations can organize physical particles into harmonious or chaotic patterns. Now think, how many times have you used your own words against yourself? How many times have you repeated, "I can't do this," or "this always happens to me," and then wondered why the same situations keep repeating? You are programming your own reality with every word. In a distant village, a craftsman named Omar spent his days carving magnificent works from wood. Yet he always mumbled, "This isn't good enough." Despite his talent, his life never changed. His hands created beauty, but his words sowed destruction. One day, a wise traveler observed him and said, "Every word you speak is a chisel strike against your own destiny." That day, something shifted. For the first time, Omar looked at his work and declared, "This is my best creation yet." At first, he didn't believe it, but he kept repeating it. Days later, his hands carved with a newfound grace. And soon, the king himself sought out his work. Omar didn't just change his words, he changed his world. You have passed through the fire of Negredo, the silence of albedo, the clarity of alignment, and now you stand at the gate of creation itself. You understand the laws, and you hold the tool. But this is where the true great work begins. Beyond these first four portals lie the higher, more mystical stages of alchemy. You have walked through the foundational gates. You have died and been reborn in the fires of Negredo, found the light within during the silence of albedo, understood the laws of reality through alignment, and felt the creative power of your own words. But the great work is not yet complete. Now we enter the fifth portal, a stage of profound integration where true power is finally forged. The fifth portal, the fusion of opposites. The transformation doesn't stop with understanding. You now realize that the external world is a mirror, reflecting what happens inside you. But what about the world within you? Is there harmony, or is there still a silent war being waged? This is the fifth portal, the fusion of opposites, the delicate balance between matter and spirit. The ancient art has always taught that true power comes not from choosing light over darkness, but from the courageous integration of both. Gold is only born from the perfect fusion of its constituent parts. There can be no creation without destruction, no clarity without shadows, no unshakable reason without profound intuition. In occult symbolism, this sacred union is represented by the rebus, the divine androgynous being that symbolizes the marriage of the masculine and feminine energies within each of us. This is not just a mythical image, it is a state of consciousness. It is the perfect, radical balance where you accept all parts of yourself, the parts that show strength and the parts that reveal vulnerability. But can you truly do this? From your first breath, you were told that parts of you needed to be hidden, that feeling fear was weakness, that being sensitive was fragility, that being too rational distanced you from the sacred. You were pushed to choose an extreme, but now you see that extremes only create more separation. True power lies in fusion. The fire of your wool and the water of your intuition must coexist. The energy of doing and the energy of being must walk hand in hand. You don't have to choose between matter and spirit. You are the bridge between them. Can you love all parts of yourself, even the ones you once rejected and cast into shadow? If the answer is yes, then you are ready for the next step, the sixth portal, the encounter with the inner master. You have accepted all parts of yourself, the shadow and the light, chaos and order. Now, something profound shifts, a new kind of silence emerges. But this time, it's not empty, it is a resonant fullness, pregnant with a presence that once felt distant and unattainable. It is the feeling of absolute awareness. This is the sixth portal, the encounter with the inner master. The journey has been long. You have dissolved the old identity, purified your perception, learned the universal principles, and found balance. But one last, great illusion of the old world remained, the belief that knowledge and truth come from the outside. The ancient alchemists knew that no truth can be taught, it can only be remembered. That is why they hid the secrets of the great work in symbols and metaphors. They knew that those who were not ready to see would simply look past them. As Hermes Trismegistus, the father of the Hermetic tradition, made clear, the lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding. This means there are no external gurus who can save you. No one can give you the truth. The greatest masters in history, Buddha, Christ, Lao Tzu, Socrates, all pointed to the same singular path, the awakening of your own consciousness. They didn't want followers to worship them. They wanted you to find within yourself the divine spark you had always been searching for outside. The psychologist Carl Jung called this process individuation, the moment you courageously become who you truly are, free from the world's projections. But how do you know if you have arrived? Since childhood, everything around you has tried to tell you who you should be. But who were you before all of this? Before you were given a name? Before you were told what was right and wrong? Before fear and limitation were planted in your mind? The inner master was always there, simply buried under layers of mental programming. Now, you are waking up. The silence that was once uncomfortable is now your most sacred space. You feel, with an unshakable certainty, that every answer you have ever searched for was inside you all along. Doubt begins to fade. You no longer need external validation. The voice within you grows stronger, clearer, and for the first time, you trust it completely. The seventh portal, the Philosopher's Stone, Rubedo. Now, everything is clear. What once felt like an endless search has finally been revealed. True alchemy was never about turning lead into gold. It was about transforming the lead of your limited, conditioned self into the gold of enlightened consciousness. This is the seventh and final portal of this initiation, the Philosopher's Stone and the final illumination. For centuries, Seekers chased the legend of the philosopher's stone, the mystical substance said to grant eternal life and unlimited power. But the true alchemists always knew this was a metaphor. The stone was never an object to be found. It was always a state of consciousness to be achieved. This final stage is called rubedo, the reddening, which represents the complete ascension of the spirit, the moment when everything that was dissolved, purified, and balanced finally crystallizes into a new, perfected form, the reborn being, the enlightened alchemist. What does this mean in practice? It means your perception of reality has forever changed. You no longer feel like a prisoner of chance. You are the change itself. Your gaze holds the quiet certainty of someone who has found their own power. Your words, your actions, your very energy now vibrate on a different frequency, and the world around you must respond. Opportunities appear, doors open, synchronicities intensify. This isn't magic. This is the law of vibration in action. You no longer just understand the universal principles. Now, you embody them, and then the ultimate question arises: what will you do with this power? Because here is the final secret. The journey does not end here. You may have reached the end of this initiation, but true alchemy is an eternal cycle of expansion. Enlightenment is not a destination you arrive at. It is a state of being that continues to unfold. Forever, what once seemed like an ending is, in fact, a new beginning. But here is what separates a true alchemist from a mere scholar of mysteries. What you have learned must be lived. Knowledge without action is a useless treasure. Now that you have passed through the 7 portals of transformation, how will you use this new perception? True alchemy doesn't happen in hidden laboratories. It happens in the way you live, think, feel, and act in the world. The ultimate secret of alchemy is this: the world doesn't need you to find a magical stone. It needs you to become one. A living touchstone of wisdom, balance, and conscious creation. The great work is not over. It has just begun, and its laboratory is your life. If this journey resonates with the deepest part of your being, and you are ready to continue the great work, then I invite you to subscribe to this channel, join our circle of modern-day alchemists, and let's walk this path of transformation together.